Away. I'm going to take my ugly mug off video. So for those of you that have been following us and keeping an eye on what we're doing, the eDM Factory is our managed service business of Zulu Labs. Zulu Labs has Zulu eDM, which is our electronic direct marketing platform. We believe in targeting more, sending less, and making sure that those communications are 100% worthy to the audience. And I'll touch on that as I give you a segue into Dave's topic. And really, Dave is going to be taking most of this evening or morning for you in Australia, or for everyone in Australia, which is on the call. And we will be focused on what content can do to the outcomes. I'll set the way as we move forward. As a quick introduction, I'll hand over to Dave to introduce himself. Dave, you are unmuted and good to go. And once Dave has introduced himself, I'll just give you a recap as to me and what I'm up to, and we can get underway. Dave.
Great, thank you. Thank you, David. Good morning, Australia. I hope all of you can understand my funny accent. It's Sunday evening here in Fort Lauderdale. As David mentioned, my name is Dave Custon. I'm the founder of Content Bacon, and Content Bacon is a content writing service. It's a turnkey content writing service, and we help companies build a voice, create a voice, distribute, create, and promote content that helps position and promote their business. More content creates more opportunities. It's pretty simple that way.
Thanks, Dave. And for those that don't know me, I'm the global CEO of Zulu Labs and the eDM Factory. I'm currently residing between Miami, hence where Dave and I catch up, in Fort Lauderdale a little bit, and my two offices here in Costa Rica, and we're driving quite a lot of change down here, certainly in Central America to start with, and with Dave's help and some others' help, which will be on the webinar tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard US time. We are partnering, driving not just the product, which is about to go free, but a pretty significant change in marketing and behavior. But like with anything, we just wanted to pay for the event. If it does pay for itself, it's not what we're here for, but we've put this special offer together where for 250 US and 100, and I can't read my screen, and $50 Australian, so 300 US a month. And I apologise to Australians, our dollar has tanked, and it really has been hurting me, although we are earning US dollars, which is good as well. But the offer is $300 US. It's about $390, I suppose, Australian. We would probably have to put tax on that. I'm just waiting for some advice. That is to produce two articles or custom articles, or articles written for your website that you would publish, plus 2 social media headlines for $250, which is pretty amazing. You send the brief through, the guys will take the brief, create it. And I'll tell you one of the interesting problems when it comes to electronic direct marketing, because we don't use e-blasting or email marketing anymore. The Americans are starting to come on board with eDM as a term, although Australia's been a bit further ahead in the use of that term for a while. Producing eDM and the constant battle my managed services team has is chasing customers for content. So we will be really pushing this offer out to all of our customers in all continents, because it's a pretty great offer. So thank you for that, Dave. And for $50, which most of you will know, that's nearly half price for us. We charge $80 usually to send out a campaign that includes changing the template, putting it in, sending it, and all that sort of stuff. So it's a pretty reasonable offer. I took this photo in Fort Lauderdale. Dave will recognise the beach. He looked at it the other day. We haven't published it yet on our website or our Twitter, and we've been publishing some more clever marketing as we get closer to launching freemium, which will make our platform the freest, if I can say that, platform in the world, a platform that doesn't penalise you for having as many contacts in there as you want. We're more concerned about volume of email and SMS, and we are already the cheapest send and receive SMS platform integrated. And I suppose this is what's happened over time. Somebody's just joined us, and I will mute them. Done. Sorry about that. So, this, as Dave and I met over this webinar, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I went down to Fort Lauderdale, and this guy just captured exactly what has happened to the marketplace and what I've been campaigning for quite aggressively in the last certainly 12 to 18 months, as we had to invest in our technology and start to really try and shape the way things are going. And, this guy is trying to belt out a song, and I know I won't be able to use that word tomorrow. This guy is trying to sing a song and get an audience and get some sort of recognition for what he's saying. And for those of you that are just out there using MailChimp and sending out indiscriminate e-blasts, or using any platform, being paid or free, it doesn't matter. And that's what the free market, and that's what's happened to the marketplace in recent times, is that people are getting engagement of less than 15%. We are getting engagement for our customers. I mean, here in Costa Rica, we're getting 50 to 60% engagement. I'm talking about open rates. We sold $1 million worth of Xboxes not too long ago for a customer, because what we're sending out is content and offers that is completely relevant to the recipient. And just struggling to get an e-blast out or an eDM out each month is no longer good enough, because your numbers, if those of you that know your numbers, you will know that you're probably getting poorer engagement, especially when you send out something that's not relevant to the recipient. I mean, A/B testing is a way of testing good content. It shouldn't be a way of testing bad content. And so when we were talking about how to educate and how to help people, I don't care if nobody uses this on this call. It's not what it's for. It's really about getting the message out, making sure that you're not that guy standing on the pillar or the pylon there in Fort Lauderdale belting out a tune and nobody's listening. Because sending out poor content is exactly what's going to happen, and probably is happening for most of you these days. I will circulate this link, and we will circulate this. Peter Margettis will circulate this PowerPoint, and it will end up being shared on one of our sites. I don't think we put it up on YouTube. We'll put it up on Vimeo, I think, where you'll get access. So this is a definition I've defined. Everybody on this call is welcome to participate in the definition. You have my email address. If you don't, I will make sure that Peter circulates it. It is a definition of research that I've done over the last 4 or 5, 6 years, I suppose, since we've had the platform up and running for probably 8 years now. We've been working for 4 years to try and turn it into a free platform, but eDM is no longer, and notice the little e, so we're not getting muddled up with electronic dance music, which is kind of funny. But electronic direct marketing, focusing on the direct, is a strategic process of building and refining a centralized marketing database for the purpose of communicating directly to your subscribers using any form of electronic direct or electronic messaging. So the purpose is to make sure that the communication is increasing value for your organization whilst delivering a purposeful and meaningful outcome for the recipients. And a lot of people forget about the recipients when they're campaigning. They're just happy to throw the content in, get it out there, and just presume they're going to get some click-throughs and give some open rates to their and share that around and hope it drives traffic and hope it drives sales. Well, it's no longer going to work. And I tell you, automation is probably, if any of you are looking at automation at the moment, the research that I'm doing here and the work that I'm doing with some other global software as a service owners, automation is proving to be more of a disengagement than an engagement. I'm pretty much done on my time, but the reference is just below there. I will circulate that, as I said. Just to show you, we did this in October, and I still use this slide. It's a cracker. We sent out the same content to the same recipients for the same event, and I did it on purpose just to prove a point. And you'll see that we started down here at 50, 60% engagement, and over time, as we just continue to hammer them with the same message or the same outcome with slightly different messaging, the engagement just it turned people off. The content wasn't vibrant. They got it once, they got it twice. We had a cracking event here in October, but you'll see, and your numbers should be doing that. People ask me what's a good average to have on your engagement. Depends on your industry, of course, but anything below 15%, you've got problems. Anything above 25%, and you're ahead of the pack. But we tend to try and get 40, 50, 60% for our customers and convert that through. So I'm going to just slowly hand over to Dave because my technical ability on GoToMeeting tends to be pretty poor. But I just hope that you take from my very quick introduction that the market's changing. The key point is that we need to focus on what the people want, and you need to deliver content based on what you know about the recipient, not what you want them or you think that you know. And Dave's going to he'll land the park from here. So thanks, Dave. Over to you.
Excellent, thank you. So a couple of things that we're going to try to get through today. Number one is understanding the type of content your customers want. That is really key. I mean, as David touched on, you have to deliver. Excuse me one sec while I do this. You have to deliver value. You have to have content that people are going to react to and connect with. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to develop creative topics. We're going to talk about how to manage your content once it's been published. Now, once you have it, what do you do with it? And then how this affects or informs what you do in social media. So just a quick recap so we can all be on the same page here, but what is content? David touched on it in his definition. It's information that's available electronically. In the context of this conversation, it's recommended that it's content that is interesting and entertaining. It solves a problem. It somehow takes the reader from one point forward to another, and that forward direction is ideally towards a sale or at least a conversation. We advocate for more content. More content creates conversations. Conversations create opportunities. At the end of the day, someone in the organization has to have a conversation with someone and pitch business, close business, etc. But content can be used to get them to that point. And so why content? So content is not a new concept. Content marketing has been around for 100 years. It's become real sexy lately. It's gotten a lot of press lately. And for us, what's so exciting about it is it does all these things that you could see on the screen here. But what's really exciting is every company in the world can be its own publisher. All of the platforms are free now. Facebook is free. Twitter's free. Google Plus is free. On and on. I can go down a list, and they're free. Whereas 15, 20 years ago, if you look through the lens of traditional media, you had to spend a lot of money to get onto the platforms that were available. And those platforms were television, print, and radio. So now the platforms are essentially free. You do need to invest time and money to produce great content, but the platform is free. So these are the reasons why. Getting found, earning trust, capturing leads to build a database, and this is where eDM and David's company really comes into play. But giving your content away is a way to engage with new people and build trust. And so we refer to this in our company digital footprint or online footprint or digital platform. These are all the things. If you look at the little illustration, these are all of the channels now, or all of the ways you can distribute your content. You can see the word blog is highlighted there. In our opinion, that is the anchor, if you will. That is where all of your content should reside, whether it's written or video content or graphical. Maybe it's an infograph. All of that content should reside on your website for a number of reasons. But these are all, you can see how many channels there are now. I mean, there's a mixture here of some traditional media as well, but again, what we advocate for is you can't engage in any, even if you wanted to engage in traditional marketing or traditional advertising, you still need content. And nearly every call to action in traditional media drives someone back to a website. So you need to have content there to continue to inform and build your brand and build your positioning. Content is the new advertising. Most effective marketers publish content on a regular and consistent basis. Some do it very often, like every day. Some do it once a week. It's our opinion that, you know, when you go to a company's website and you're checking them out, you're considering buying from them or doing business with them, if you go to their blog and you see that they haven't posted content in months or worse, years, I know for me, when I see that, I feel like they're out of business. I feel like they're not even in the game and they're not even engaging with their market. So the top websites, they generate traffic from their content. I know for us at Content Bacon, most of our traffic comes from blog articles that we've posted weeks and months into the past. So that's something to keep in mind. You know, great content will always win, and great content will always find an audience. The trick is to do it. And so the question there begs to be asked, why isn't everyone doing it? The fact is it's hard. If you look at the two statistics on the right, the 41% and the 20%, if you combine those are two major roadblocks as to why companies are not producing content. They think it's hard because it is hard, but it's worth it, and the investment, either doing it internally or with a vendor, will pay dividends. So here's some things to keep in mind as to what not to do as it relates to creating content. So as I said before, content is the new advertising, but don't mistake content for advertising. That feeds directly into number 2, which is content is about your customer. It's not about you. It's not about saying we have the fastest, biggest, strongest, whatever. It's about providing value so that you can build trust with someone. The reason people go online is to find answers to their problems. We all do it, whether we do it in our personal lives or we do it for our business lives. Personal or one-to-one engagement by way of a conversation is not at all the first thing people do anymore. It may be the second, third, or fourth interaction with a company. And so if you want to help someone get to that third or fourth interaction, the content has to be about them. Human beings are, you know, the thought process is, well, what's in it for me? And your content can do that. Your content can answer that question. And don't get hung up on, you know, content doesn't always have to be creative from an, you know, sort of an looking through an advertising lens, but don't get hung up on the fact that sometimes content does not immediately generate a lead. Content is an always-on activity. It's a slow burn activity that every organization should be doing, just as a matter of course. Okay, so how do you get started? So one of the things that we do internally is, you know, when we're engaging with the new customers, we try to get into their heads a little bit as to who their customer is. And this is a great way for your organization to engage the sales team, to engage customer service, to engage basically every department. Because what you can do is, the first step is creating what we call an avatar. And so Helen over here on the right is an example of what a customer for some organization may look like, down to the level of her interests, perhaps even her disinterests, and content could be crafted in such a way to meet all of those facts and data points about Helen. So we really recommend engaging with the sales team because they're the front line typically in addressing or answering these questions. So having a customer avatar is really important for your inbound marketing and a huge factor in creating content. So in that session that you're going to create with your sales team and your customer service leads and any other departments that touch customers, this is a great way to open some oysters and get content themes, as we call it. So what are some of the questions? What are the major challenges and objections? This is number 3 is one that we absolutely love asking salespeople. If you could answer a question, or if there was something you wish your prospects knew before they ever had a conversation with you, what would that be? That could create 10 topics. That could create so many opportunities to write about so many things, it's a really great question to ask. And then customer service folks are really great to talk to about building content because they're hearing feedback, they're getting feedback from customers in real time. So what are the pain points? What keeps your customers up at night? What are some misconceptions? These are great sources of conversation for you to have internally to create content themes. And so, we do this ourselves for our customers. This isn't anything that you yourself can't do with your team. So you brainstorm ideas, you try to group these content themes, and then you prioritize and start writing. And so here's just a quick look at what an action plan may look like. We typically generate content themes over 90-day periods of time. And then once that 90 days is up, prior to those 90 days being up, we create another set of 90-day content themes. But just something to pay attention to or be aware of, that content comes in many forms. And here's a list here of what some of those content forms may look like. Certainly they're thought leadership type pieces, but they could be a number of things. They could be guides, how-to guides, opinion posts, how to hack something. And I don't mean that in a computer sense. I mean like a life hack. Maybe your business it provides some kind of solution to really help another person's life. You could write about that. You can do a book review. There's so many things that you can write about and so many forms that it can take. So these are our guidelines, and we're happy to share them with you. These are the bullet points that we look at. These are the guidelines that we look at when we create content for our customers. First and foremost, it must tell a story. It must have all the principles of storytelling: beginning, middle, end, problem, solution, maybe even good guy and bad guy. Those are the fundamentals of storytelling, and we look to include those in all of the content that we write for our customers. But it must add value to the target audience. It must answer a question. It must solve or educate or entertain. Every now and again, you may want to have something promotional, but most of the time, it should be content that is educating, content that is answering a question or a problem. Ideally, it's searchable and shareable. And then, very important to us is to write we write content that our customers read and they say, wow, that sounds exactly like I would have written it if I could write like that, or had I written it. So that's really important for us. And so what that means for you is it's important to find a voice, have a brand voice. Brands have voices. Some sound young and enthusiastic, some sound old and stodgy, and everything in between. And the more unique of a brand voice you can have, the more you're going to be memorable with somebody. Obviously, content needs to be grammatically correct, easy for me to say. It should be visually pleasing and has a call to action. So here's a visual of what all those things look like. Having a really strong headline is important. You want to bring someone into the piece of content that you're writing or have written. As I mentioned, number 3, content should solve a problem that the audience genuinely cares about. People are investing their valuable time to read about your product or service. It should be focused on delivering information. Have a singular point or theme. And use, again, as I mentioned, all the tactics that are part of storytelling. And then the call to action. So to be really specific here, the calls to action that we typically write write or formulate for our customers, again, they're not promotional. They're more along the lines of, if you want to learn more, if you want to have a conversation with, if you are at all interested in learning about, fill in the blank, those are the kinds of calls to action that we create for our customers. So some more content guidelines to think about, and these are really important. Always tell the truth. Be authentic and vulnerable. Get uncomfortable. Write about things that perhaps you may not normally write about, but in doing so, you have the opportunity to create real connection with a viewer or a reader. Have a position. Have something to say. So many times, brands, they have no real strong opinion, or they're just sort of wishy-washy, and they try to be something for everyone. And my opinion is, if you're something for everyone, then you're really nothing to no one. So it's okay to really say something and have a strong position. So now that you have content, what do you do with it? What we do is, for our customers, we promote the content that was just written in our customers' social media profiles. If you go back to the diagram, the hand-drawn diagram, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, et cetera, all of those were on there. And so we recommend taking the content that is now living on your website and promote that content to your audience in social media. One of those channels is also eDM, electronic campaigns. You want to promote the content because you have an audience everywhere, or you can. You have an audience that may respond and engage with you by way of email, but they may not do so on Twitter or Facebook or somewhere else, or they may do so on Facebook but not on Twitter. So you want to promote your content in social media so you can drive people back to your website. We write headlines for the content that is native to the platform. So what that means is we use different language on Twitter than we do on Facebook than we do on LinkedIn. And we recommend to you that you do the same thing. Copying and pasting the same headline in all social media updates or platforms is really not a best practice. Each platform has its own unique language. Reach out to others on social media. It is called social media for a reason, so we encourage companies to be social, connect with others, try to make a connection with other influencers, comment and interact on not only your posts but other posts, and share your content multiple times. David mentioned A/B testing. This is a fantastic way to do some A/B testing. You can change up the headlines promoting the article to see what works and what doesn't work. Obviously, visuals work. We recommend doing that. People pay attention to things that are interesting that perhaps maybe they haven't seen before. So this is something that's really important to us, and this is a mantra that we live by in our organization. And doing something, maybe even poorly, is better than not doing it all. One of our coaches, performance coaches, calls it make it bad, then make it better. And so just do it. Start doing it. Start creating content. Start writing. Done is better than perfect, and the more you do it, the better it will get. And if you can't do it, outsource it, because what gets outsourced gets done. So some final thoughts. We covered this in one of our webinars a few weeks ago, but it's really important for organizations now to be mobile. More than 50% of searches are taking place on mobile devices. That may mean a phone or a tablet. And so if your site is not device responsive, you're not helping yourself. Google is pushing search results further down for sites that are not device responsive. So make sure your site is device responsive. Content marketing is as we mentioned, it's an electronic piece of content that will find an audience and hopefully educates them on what it is that your company does. And then selling. I mean, at the end of the day, selling is part of the formula here. We want to bring people from at the very top of the funnel down to the bottom of the funnel so we can have a conversation with them. But this happens through consistent distribution and promotion of content. As I said, it's an always-on activity. And this is just a quick visual for you to think about how content can change how your organization is perceived. So, you may be like the guy on the left where you have connectivity to a small group of people. But over time, if your content is strong enough, if it's solving lots of problems, if it's interesting, you could become more of an influencer and you can have a much greater reach. And this can be done through content. It happens all the time. So as David mentioned, this is our special offer, the two of us. And so what that means relative to the articles is that we'll provide 2 custom articles for your business that does all those things that we mentioned in the slides above. It addresses a problem, it's interesting to read, and then we'll also create social media headlines for you to use to promote the articles that are now residing on your website. And that's the special price that we'll do it for. David mentioned his campaign. And now I guess, David, I'll send it back over to you to
Thanks, David. That was great.
manage some questions here.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any come through the message box. There's still 20 odd people on the call. Guys, this is your, one and only chance to ask one of the leaders from the southwest coast of east coast of the United States any questions. I mean, what are you seeing in trends coming out of with your customers? I mean, we'll spend 5 minutes on just chit chat, I think, and as people wind off, I'll end the seminar. But what are you seeing as the key trends coming out? I mean, are you seeing what I talked about at the start? Well, I know you are seeing that people are needing to get better content, better engagement. What are the challenges your customers are seeing, and what else is going on in the marketplace up here?
Well, it's interesting, David. I mean, first of all, we're a customer of yours, so we're drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak, on what it is that you're advocating for, and it's working for us. So we're doing what you're suggesting, and that is to be more focused on engagement rather than quality versus quantity. And so we're doing that. Some of the other things we're seeing, it's interesting. Content marketing in as much as it's been around, there's customers seem to fall into two groups. The first group is they're just sort of clueless about it. They have no idea what content marketing is, why it's important, why they should engage in it, and that's kind of one group. And then the other group is they're educated and they clearly know what it's for and why to engage in it, and they're not doing it because they don't have the time or the bandwidth or the expertise on staff, a variety of reasons. And so that's kind of what we're seeing in terms of customer profile. In terms of trends, customers, companies here, they're using content, and the ones that are using content to generate conversations, they're outperforming their competition.
Yeah, I've got a good example, and I shared that with you a little while ago, putting a white paper, and the white papers don't need to be long, and I know that's a service that you offer as well, but the white paper sitting behind a subscription form is another good lead generator for the B2B and B2C customers, more so B2B. So you produce a white paper, instead of giving it away for free, you're just simply asking people to fill out a subscription form and give you a bit of data so that we can provide more targeted information to them, and then you make the white paper available. Correct?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, again, just to use ourselves as an example, we do that on our website. We have an ebook that's free. All we ask is for some contact information,
Mm.
and we promote that in lots of places, and we get lots of engagement with it.
I certainly know that's big in the valley as well. I mean, I hear a lot, and that was that information I shared from Brian Smith from you the other day. Guys, we're going to wrap it up. If there's no more questions, it's a bit Australian not to have any, but that doesn't reflect on any of the content, I'm sure. And Peter Margettis from our team will be following up to get some feedback from people involved. If you could give us some feedback, would be most appreciative. We really are about making sure that we're adding value to your day, and keeping it, 37 minutes isn't too bad. We could have gone for a lot longer. So for the 15 people left on the call from quite a long list, we appreciate it. Susie, thank you. You're most
Thank you
welcome.
all. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Ciao. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Thanks, David.